In late June 2025, the quiet city of Morgan Hill, California was shaken to its core. 18-year-old Marissa DiNapoli, a bright, beautiful young woman with her whole future ahead of her, left her home one summer evening and never came back. The last image of her alive, captured on a surveillance camera, shows her leaving a house alongside her ex-boyfriend, Martin Mendoza Jr. Just days later, her lifeless body was discovered near Anderson Lake, brutally stabbed multiple times. What began as a missing persons case quickly turned into a homicide investigation, one that exposed the terrifying dangers of toxic relationships, obsession, and violence. Tonight, we're going to tell the full story: who Marissa was, how she vanished, how investigators unraveled the case, and what this tragedy teaches us about the hidden dangers in relationships that spiral out of control. This is the story of Marissa DiNapoli, and the fight for justice after her murder. Welcome to Crime and Consequence. Before her name was splashed across headlines, Marissa DiNapoli was a typical teenager from Morgan Hill. At just 18 years old, she was at a turning point in her life, high school behind her, adulthood just beginning. Marissa was known among her friends and family as the type of person who always put others first. Whether it was helping a classmate who was struggling, comforting a friend going through a breakup, or simply checking in on relatives, she had a heart that instinctively leaned toward kindness. People close to her often said that she carried a natural empathy, making others feel seen and valued. To her, compassion wasn't just an occasional act, it was part of who she was every day. At just 18, Marissa already showed remarkable drive and intelligence. She was curious, ambitious, and determined to create a better future for herself. Teachers and mentors described her as focused and motivated, with goals that stretched far beyond her immediate surroundings. She dreamed of higher education, of career opportunities, of traveling and experiencing life to the fullest. To those who knew her best, it was clear she had both the intellect and the determination to achieve whatever she set her mind to. While she was compassionate and hardworking, Marissa was also known for her joyful, playful spirit. She loved to laugh, and her laughter was contagious. Friends recalled how she could turn an ordinary afternoon into a memorable one, whether through her sense of humor, her spontaneous ideas, or just her ability to make people feel comfortable around her. She was often described as the light in the room, someone who made others want to smile simply because she was there. She lived with her family in Morgan Hill, a community of about 45,000 residents in Santa Clara County, part of the Silicon Valley region. It's known for its vineyards, open spaces, and small-town feel. To those closest to her, Marissa was not just a statistic or a headline. She was a daughter, a sister, a friend, and a young woman filled with hope and excitement for what life had to offer. But like many young women, she had experienced the complexities of first love. And in her case, her relationship with Martin Mendoza Jr. had become increasingly unhealthy. That evening, surveillance cameras captured Marissa leaving a home in Morgan Hill. Walking alongside her was her ex-boyfriend, 20-year-old Martin Mendoza Jr. The two had dated before, but their relationship had ended. Friends say Marissa wanted to move forward, to focus on herself and her future. But Mendoza, according to prosecutors, was obsessed with her. He couldn't let go. When Marissa failed to return home that night, her family immediately grew concerned. By June 30th, they reported her missing. They knew something was wrong. Marissa wasn't the type to disappear without contacting her loved ones. Flyers went up. Posts flooded social media. Her name spread across the community as family and friends begged for answers. For days, there was no sign of her. But behind the scenes, investigators were already zeroing in on the last person who saw her alive. On July 2, 2025, search teams made a chilling discovery near Anderson Reservoir, just outside Morgan Hill. There, in a remote area, they found Marissa's body. She had been stabbed 5 times in the back. The brutality of the murder shocked investigators. This wasn't a random act. It wasn't a robbery gone wrong. The multiple stab wounds indicated rage, obsession, and intent. For her family, the discovery was devastating. Their hopes that she would come home alive were shattered. The missing persons case had now become a homicide investigation. From the very beginning, detectives knew that solving Marissa's disappearance, and later, her murder, would require carefully piecing together every available clue. They started by retracing her last known steps. Surveillance footage. Security cameras captured Marissa on the night of June 29, 2025. She was seen leaving a house in Morgan Hill, accompanied by her ex-boyfriend, Martin Mendoza Jr. This was a critical lead, the last confirmed sighting of her alive, and proof that Mendoza had been with her in the hours before she went missing. Phone records and digital data. Investigators pulled data from both Marissa's and Mendoza's cell phones. The records painted a clear digital trail. Both devices had pinged cell towers near Anderson Lake on the night she vanished. This location data later matched the grim discovery of her body. Prosecutors would later point out that this wasn't a coincidence, it was evidence of premeditation, showing that Mendoza had led her to a secluded area. The autopsy revealed that Marissa had been stabbed 5 times in the back. The placement of the wounds suggested she had been attacked while attempting to walk away or possibly while trying to escape. This detail was chilling. It indicated that she may have turned her back, perhaps in a moment of trust, or in an attempt to leave, only to be brutally assaulted. Detectives combined these 3 key elements, video, phone records, and forensic evidence, into a timeline that pointed directly at Mendoza. The investigation also uncovered troubling behavior in the days after the killing. Mendoza's movements suggested he was on the run. He disappeared from the area, and soon after, authorities discovered that he had attempted to cross the border into Mexico. For prosecutors, this was not just suspicious, it was evidence of a man fleeing justice after committing a violent crime. By the time authorities tracked him down and arrested him, the case against him was already strong. They had video. They had phone data. They had forensic proof. And soon, they had him in custody. Investigators believe that on June 29, Mendoza convinced Marissa to meet with him. At some point, they drove toward Anderson Lake. There, an argument escalated into violence. Mendoza allegedly stabbed her 5 times in the back, leaving her to die. But instead of staying, he fled. For several days, his location was unknown. Then came another dramatic twist in the case. After days of searching, investigators finally got the break they needed. On July 6, 2025, less than a week after Marissa's body was found near Anderson Lake, authorities located Martin Mendoza Jr. He wasn't in Morgan Hill. He wasn't even in Santa Clara County. Mendoza had vanished across the southern border, slipping into Mexico shortly after the crime. To investigators, it was the classic move of a fugitive, a man trying to escape responsibility for what he had done. But his plan didn't work. As he attempted to re-enter the United States at the border, federal agents and local law enforcement were waiting. Mendoza was arrested and taken into custody on the spot. The timing was no coincidence. Investigators had been tracking his movements, coordinating across agencies to make sure he could not disappear for good. For prosecutors, this attempted flight from justice spoke volumes. District Attorney Jeff Rosen described the act as more than just suspicious, it was proof of guilt. Mendoza was officially charged with first-degree murder, use of a deadly weapon, knife. Standing before the cameras, Rosen condemned the crime in strong words. This was not an accident. This was a deliberate and violent act of betrayal. Marissa trusted him. And he killed her. The arrest was a turning point in the case. With the suspect in custody, the focus shifted from the search for a killer to the fight for justice in the courtroom. When Martin Mendoza Jr. was finally brought into the courtroom for his first appearance, the atmosphere was heavy. He appeared subdued, avoiding eye contact with the family of the young woman whose life he was accused of taking. His defense attorney immediately requested additional time to review the evidence, a common move in cases of this magnitude. But prosecutors wasted no time in laying out the fundamentals of their case. Surveillance video. The footage showed Marissa leaving a house with Mendoza on June 29, the night she disappeared. It was the last confirmed sighting of her alive, and it placed Mendoza directly at her side in the crucial final hours. Phone records. Data from both Marissa's and Mendoza's phones placed them near Anderson Lake that night. Investigators emphasized that this was the exact location where Marissa's body was discovered only days later. Forensic evidence. The autopsy revealed 5 stab wounds to Marissa's back. Prosecutors argued that the nature of these wounds told a chilling story. She had been attacked from behind, possibly while trying to leave or defend herself. This detail, they said, demonstrated intent, not accident. The district attorney's office presented their position firmly. This was not a crime of passion in the heat of the moment, nor an act of negligence. It was a premeditated act of violence, calculated, deliberate, and carried out with deadly precision. Because of the severity of the charges, Mendoza was ordered to be held without bail, ensuring he would remain in custody while awaiting trial. A plea hearing was scheduled for September 2025, where the defense would be forced to formally respond to the accusations. For Marissa's family, each courtroom session was excruciating. Sitting only feet away from the man accused of murdering their daughter, they were forced to relive her final moments through evidence, testimony, and chilling details. Yet at the same time, the court proceedings offered a sense of movement, a step closer to justice for Marissa. Prosecutors vowed to pursue the maximum penalty under the law, while the defense remained tight-lipped about their strategy. The stage was set for a trial that promised to be both heartbreaking and closely watched. The murder of Marissa DiNapoli was not just another crime in the news. It became a wound that touched an entire community. In the days following the discovery of her body, Morgan Hill, a small city unaccustomed to such violence, came together in grief. Friends, neighbors, and even strangers who had never met Marissa gathered to mourn the loss of a young woman whose life had been stolen far too soon. For her family, seeing the support of the community brought comfort in the midst of devastation. They thanked the community for its overwhelming support, even as they admitted that the pain of her absence was unbearable. At just 18 years old, Marissa DiNapoli had her whole life ahead of her. She should have been making plans for college, laughing with friends, and building a future filled with dreams. Instead, her story ended in violence, a life stolen far too soon, by someone she once trusted. Her murder was not just the loss of a daughter, a sister, and a friend. It was the loss of a future, of milestones never reached, of birthdays never celebrated, of all the possibilities she should have had. What do you think about this case? Could more have been done to protect Marissa? And what lessons can we take to protect young people from dangerous relationships? Let us know in the comments below. If you found this video informative, please like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth true crime documentaries. Thank you for watching, and may Marissa rest in peace.